Hey Taurus, hope this reading is finding y'all well. We are here again with the good old trusty Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And I've already laid some cards out, and I've actually pulled your Significator card, which I think is pretty interesting. So I've been kind of sitting here ruminating over this card, and also the Catalyst card, which is going to be opening your reading, and we'll get into that. But this first card is representing you and where you're at with things right now. So we have the Five of Wands in reverse. Now, if we look at the Five of Wands, we're looking at the first decan of Leo. And Leo is the fourth sign from your sign, Taurus. This is the part of your chart that is not seen by the public, not seen by the outer world, but it's the deep, unconscious or conscious thoughts and feelings that but form the foundation and the backbone for the presence that you have as you go about your life in the world outside of your house, outside of the privacy of your own room, outside of the privacy of your own space. When you go out into the world, it's these thoughts, feelings, and intimations, perspectives that you have with yourself in private that really dictate how you show up to others in the world as you go about things. So sitting with this card, I've been kind of thinking about the fact that, well, I guess in terms of astronomy, tomorrow, or at the time of me recording this, by tomorrow, we're going to be moving into Leo season, the solar month of Leo, which may be a pivotal point in your story as we discuss it, and we'll see what else comes through. But I feel like this moment's really going to be setting the foundation, setting the seed for something that you might not see any real tangible results for until even as far out as Scorpio season in October, November. So maybe something to keep an eye on, minding your intentions and everything at this point. Anyway, getting back to the Five of Wands itself, I feel like this is a card of obviously conflict, because if you look at the figures, they're all kind of fighting amongst themselves. There's competition present. In reverse, it sort of feels like aimless conflict, meaningless conflict even. There's just something about this that feels more like a dance that is being done just to do it and without any sort of purpose or story behind it. And the reason why I'm kind of coming to this conclusion is because the Catalyst card, which is what's opening up the reading for us, is this Ten of Cups right here. You know, beautiful card, full of harmony, bliss, familial happiness, love, prosperity, abundance, joy, gratitude, you know, all those sorts of wonderful you know, rainbows and unicorns sorts of associations that we have with anything idyllic or anything that we really hope to bring into our experience. And when I see this card coupled with this Five of Wands in reverse, what I'm thinking about is this search for meaning within what it is that you're doing. Perhaps you find yourself in a work environment where it's very competitive, it's very outcome oriented. You feel very pressured to produce results that are tangible and measurable, and you know, maybe at one point in time it felt like these things served a purpose or were sort of fulfilling you in a way, or maybe they weren't. But I think at this point in time you're sort of really wrestling with the question of meaning behind what it is that you're doing. And I think this metaphor of the family sort of coming through, it's like if you think in an ideal world, or in a simpler world, I guess we could say, you have, let's say the traditional father figure who is going out and doing work so that he can have the resources that he needs to provide for his family and ensure that their basic needs are met. They have a roof over their head, they have food on the table, they have, you know, things to enjoy. You know, and that that is what drives his purpose. That's what compels his movements, is knowing that everything that he does, he's doing in support of this family unit. He has a lovely wife or even a husband to go back home to. He's got children to feed. Like, everything he does has purpose, has meaning, and ultimately supports and nourishes this very, I'm hearing the word effulgent, like this very open and broad environment of bliss and happiness and comfort. And I feel like that's maybe, since this is the catalyst card, it's almost like you're in search of that, and maybe not finding it in the environment that you find yourself in, and maybe sort of asking yourself those questions of, why is it that I'm doing these things? I feel like I'm going through the motions. I feel like I'm fighting or doing the dance of fighting, pretending to be invested in the fight, but I'm not actually present. I'm not actually paying attention to what's happening. And so upcoming, we have the Judgment card, and I feel like, I don't know, if we look, let's project this out to, I guess, Scorpio season, because that seems like I don't know why it's a bookmarked little time frame in my mind, but we're gonna go with it. This card to me represents a moment of, not finality. Finality kind of came into my mind, but this moment of sort of coming to an ultimate realization about the truth, or about your maybe a perspective on the situation that you're dealing with that you haven't allowed yourself time for, or you haven't given much credence or thought to. I can kind of also see this card for some reason as maybe there being sort of gossip going around, and it's not that what's being spoken is the truth. Because this card is in reverse, it's almost like there's something kind of twisted or slanted about what's being communicated, what sort of realization is being come to. But I think ultimately it's sort of leading you towards what is actually true and what is actually worthwhile. So if we're going to connect this back to whatever the gossip image was in my head, I feel like people believe they have a grasp on you and what you're doing in the workplace. And I don't know why the focus is on the workplace right now, but it seems we're going to run with that too. There's just this idea that people have of you and what you're doing and how you're doing what you're doing that isn't accurate, but I feel like in a way it's sort of forcing you to confront something about yourself. That I don't know how to explain it other than like the mistruths are kind of making you sit with everything and think, well, that's not true. I know it's not true, but maybe you also don't know what is true. Maybe they believe. I'm not going to come up with specifics right now, but it's been a long day. I just feel like, I don't know, there's just something curvy, something wavy, something twisted up. Like in being confronted with what the situation isn't, you're being encouraged to see the situation for what it is, and I feel like that can be very disruptive. The Judgment card's in reverse, so I feel like it's a subtler disruption than like the typical trumpets raining down from the heavens would typically be. I feel like it's a quieter realization. It's something that maybe happens in private, happens behind closed doors, but ultimately has a huge impact on how you move in the world. Kind of going back to that fourth house energy that we were discussing earlier on in the reading. I just feel like there's some sort of private realization that comes about, and it sort of very slowly and quietly changes things for you. Ooh. In the environment around you, we have the Ace of Wands, and this is very much the card of like a new opportunity, a new creative project, a new venture, something to really sort of channel your energy and focus on, which may or may not yield results further down the line. But for right now, it just feels hopeful. It feels open. It feels like there's some potential opportunity. Like it just feels very like I'm planting the seed for the garden. That sort of an energy, and I just okay. If this is related to like the workplace, I almost feel like maybe um, it could be like a higher up or something about the workplace. Like you've been. It almost feels like you're being separated from the group in a way. Like I don't know, something about this competitive environment. It's sort of like you've been naturally sort of pulling out of it, and I feel like there's an opportunity here that will allow you to take on something that's a little bit more individualized, where you're not really a part of this competition. You're not doing the dance anymore, and I feel like because of its connection with this 10 of Cups card, I feel like it's maybe reintroducing this energy to your work again, or what it is that you're working towards, feeling like you're finding the meaning and the purpose and the why behind what you're doing again, in sort of throwing yourself in this new direction, in this new project, following whatever this new opportunity is and where it's taking you. You have the 6 of Cups is also kind of like your present outlook on things. I feel like this card in reverse, I guess we can talk about the fact that it's the middle decan of Scorpio, so maybe going back to that Scorpio timeline I was talking to you about. Middle decan of Scorpio, I believe, falls in like the first week of November, first 10 days or so of November, if I've got that right. Because Scorpio season usually starts like October 21st, 22nd, 20th, thereabouts. Until November 20th or thereabouts. So November 1st to the 10th, that kind of timeline, if we're thinking about that. It's the decan of ruled by the sun. So there's this very bright, open, if we're going back to the past here with this 6 of Wands, I feel like or 6 of Cups, I feel like in reverse, I don't know. It's almost like you can't find the sanctity or the comfort in any of your past experiences anymore, or maybe you've just sort of reached a point where all of the, I'm hearing like sappy. What's the word I'm looking for? Sentimentality. Like all the time that you've spent sort of thinking about the past and reminiscing and feeling good about the memories that you have. It's sort of like you've sucked all the juice out of that and can no longer find the comfort that you once found in sitting with those memories. And I feel like that might be what's it's making it feel more compulsive for you to move in this new direction, whatever this Ace of Wands is, to sort of give up the stagnancy of the comfort of unchanging circumstances that you might have up to this point found yourself in. Something else about this card is also like perhaps believing that you have a grasp on the situation that's unfolding in front of you, by comparing it to patterns or experiences that you've already had. And I feel like it's not an accurate representation of what's going to be coming into the picture for you. So maybe also keeping that in mind, trying not to come to conclusions about a situation before you've actually moved in that direction, like actually actively participated in moving towards whatever it's just going back to this Ace of Wands here. Don't allow your beliefs about what the situation will inevitably be, lull you into a state of inaction or lull you away from making the choice to move in this direction. I feel like it's going to exceed or differ from your expectations, and I think it's going to be probably a good thing because it's ultimately in pursuit of this, and I feel like there's some momentum here moving in that direction. I feel. Okay, with our hopes and fears here, the Magician card. This to me is being afraid of your own capabilities, being afraid that you're not enough, being afraid that you don't have the skills, don't have the knowledge, the wisdom, the wherewithal to create or move in this new direction, while simultaneously being very hopeful that that is the case, and maybe even tapping into the state of mind that allows you to believe it's true, that you are capable, that you are strong, that you can do this thing, that you can make this choice and actually bring things to a positive outcome through your own efforts, through your own focused efforts. I feel like that's also an important distinction here, because Mercury is the ruler of this card, but I feel like there's an emphasis on using your wits, keeping your wits about you, sharpening your mind and utilizing your mental faculties to solve problems or to organize and make order out of chaos. And I feel like that's an important component of whatever this process that's unfolding for you is really being present and intentional with your logicking through situations, if that makes sense. Being very methodical, taking the time to think things through, plan your decisions before you make them. Not in the sense, not in a way that what's the word I'm looking for? Not petrifies. Maybe petrifies you is the right word or the right phrase. Not analyzing a situation to the extent that you end up not making a choice or not doing the thing, but instead being very methodical, very practical, and very careful, very thoughtful. Make those lists, make those bullet points, hash out a plan, make an outline before you start writing that book or before you start writing that proposal. Like, there's just something about organizing, putting the plan into a very clearly defined, ordered, I'm just seeing like a list. Like, I think there's just something important about that, and I feel like that's going to help you get over the fear that you might have of being inadequate in relation to whatever this opportunity is, or in relation to whatever this new direction, this new choice is. By sort of proving to yourself that you can really figure this problem out. I don't know, I just feel like it does wonders for your confidence and allows you to feel a little bit more comfortable with putting yourself out there and doing the dang thing, because you have the firm foundation of a plan in place. And obviously being flexible, because there's also this, with Mercury, there's this trickster energy, and it sort of compels me to think about the fact that when you have a plan and when you act on said plan, the universe has a funny way of inserting obstacles or forcing you to take little turns and twists that you didn't expect or plan to make. So I think also honing in on your awareness of and capability of adapting to the unknown, the unpredictable, the unplannable, because nothing ever goes completely according to plan in life. So allowing your plan to have room for flexibility to deal with those sorts of situations, having a backup plan, having maybe extra money set aside. If you feel like, if you have a budget in place, also making sure that you're maybe being a little bit more conservative with your budget, just so that you have the extra cash on hand to sort of deal with any emergency or unpredicted situations. In the recent past, we have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, and this to me immediately speaks of somebody who squanders their resources. This is very much the energy of somebody who works very hard, perhaps, and sets aside a lot of money, but then blows it all every weekend on going out drinking, partying, buying things that you don't need, spending on food or clothes or music, movies, and then having to start over the next week with no cash and working your butt off to get it all back again, only to do the same thing on the weekend. Like, I feel like that's an old pattern, considering this card is in the past, but I feel like using that, those experiences as a sort of stepping stone, or as a sort of something that just informs you what not to do, because clearly that model didn't work. So also maybe like when you're outlining your plan, when you're sort of making those lists and organizing your ideas into something that you can actually work with and create something workable with, maybe also taking the time to consider what didn't work as a way to help you set some guide rails and some guardrails so that you don't veer off course and that you don't make the same mistakes again. Because I also feel like it's important for me to say that those past experiences where maybe things were a little bit more careless or carefree, it wasn't a mistake, and I don't want you to feel like you wasted your time or you wasted your money. Those were just experiences, and you learn from them, and some of them are really good, some of them were probably really bad, and it is what it is, but it's all part of the story that is unfolding as your life. And if you want things to be different, then by all means draw from those experiences to remind yourself what not to do or how not to go about it, while also taking the time to consider what it is from those experiences that you want to retain. Like, maybe let's say you were spending all this money that you didn't have on things that you didn't necessarily need, but these were things that maybe added value to your life experience in the day-to-day, made you feel excited about life again. Like, there's nothing wrong with keeping those things or continuing to want to include those things in your sphere, but having a bit more of a moderated approach to it, or at least understanding that maybe by moving in this new direction, you can come to a more comfortable place in your life where you have more resources to set aside towards the indulgences that you'd like to allow yourself, being very methodical about it in a way that you maybe weren't in the past. And maybe that's part of the pursuit of meaning here. That's going back to this catalyst card of like trying to find your why again, why you're going through the motions, why you're doing the work that you're doing, so that you can have your movements infused with passion and purpose again. And sometimes that does mean like picking up and moving in a different direction, which can be what this Ace of Wands is, especially with the Magician card next to it. Like, this is the blank canvas, or this is past the moment of the blank canvas, rather, and I feel like it's more the moment where you finally have a paintbrush, you've chosen the color, and you make that first mark on the canvas. It's terrifying. Any artist will tell you it's a fucking terrifying moment when you finally start painting or sketching on a blank piece of paper or on a canvas. Like, there's so much potential. It could be anything. Things could go so terribly wrong, and things can go so wonderfully right. Like, you're at that threshold between the unknown. Even if you have a plan set in place, you never know how it's going to turn out in the end. But it's exciting, and it's I don't know, it just feels passionate. It feels electric. And maybe that's what you're seeking out. Like, this could also be like, I don't want the cookie cutter life. I don't want the same things other people want. I want to do something different. I don't want to pursue the American dream just because it's something that everybody's doing. Like, I want to create something different for myself. And this card could also be like having worked your ass off for something that didn't fulfill you. This could represent you in that environment where things feel competitive and, I'm hearing stupid, like it doesn't fit with who you are and who you've become, who you're becoming. It just feels very much like a path that doesn't work for you. And it's like you wouldn't have known that path didn't work for you if you didn't try walking it. And I think that's what this card is representing. It doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, I wasted all my money and resources and I was a really irresponsible and whatever, insert blank here. Like this could be going down the path that didn't fulfill you, putting your efforts in, creating a life that wasn't meant for you, or that didn't align with the values that you hold, and maybe you didn't know it until you tried. So in our outcome card, outcome position, we have the Knight of Cups in reverse. I don't know, this to me, it's just very much like, I don't have it figured out yet, but I know what I tried before didn't work. So I'm going to try something different. I'm going to prioritize a different part of my life. Maybe sacrificed a lot of interpersonal relationships in the pursuit of career previously. And now that you've sort of come to a place where you severed yourself from emotional, social fulfillment in that pursuit, you're realigning yourself with attempting to recreate the garden in which that flourishes. And now the Knight of Cups in reverse, for me, can mean maybe not necessarily having your intentions fully worked out. Not that they're negative, not that you have ulterior motives in the pursuit of love or romance or emotional fulfillment. That doesn't necessarily have to play out in the romantic sphere, but I feel like with this other Knight of Pentacles here, although it does represent like a different aspect of yourself, it can also represent this sort of going back to like this energy of conflict, like very different, but also somehow very similar perspectives sort of coming head to head. And it's like it could be a past version of yourself coming head to head with a new version of yourself that is valuing totally different things, or these can very much be sort of being presented to you in the outer world as a different people who are maybe mirroring those aspects of yourself back to you. And so this Knight of Cups in approach, this could be a new person coming into your life with romantic intentions, with somebody who wants to pursue partnership with you, but maybe this person just doesn't quite know how far they want to go with it or what they actually want out of it, and maybe runs the risk of falling into this trap of going through the motions just to do it. But I don't necessarily feel like you're moving towards this without that knowledge already in mind. I think maybe it's more of an opportunity to learn for yourself what it is that your intentions are, what it is that you want, whether that's in partnership or in the broader scope of whatever new direction it is that you're moving towards. There's this desire in you to have emotional fulfillment, but I think like this card is sort of representing the moment of questioning how you want that to look and what it is that you actually want from it, because I feel like at this point it's more of like a surface understanding based on the fact that you just don't have the experience yet. But we're moving towards that with this card, I feel. So I want to look at the base of the deck, and we have the King of Wands in reverse. So to kind of summarize and conclude this reading, I feel like this card, I'm going to pull it out so I'm not just carrying all the cards in my hand like that. don't question your own authority. Don't belittle your own experience. Don't make yourself out to be smaller than you actually are. Maybe consider the possibility that you are qualified for the position, you're qualified for the opportunity, you're qualified to make the decision to take on the responsibility, and you're capable of doing a good job while doing it. You know, I feel like this card is sort of inviting you to turn it upright and really come to terms with the authority that you hold in your own life. The power that your decisions, your thoughts, your beliefs, the things that you focus on, the things that you value, you know, it all creates the tapestry of the environment around you. And if you're not happy with where things are, you can change that, like putting on a new pair of clothes. If you feel like you're not getting the opportunity that you seek in the environment that you're in, put yourself in a new environment where you might have access to those opportunities. But don't shy away from responsibility, don't shy away from authority, because I feel like you're capable. You have the knowledge, you have the wherewithal, you have the willpower, you have the drive, you have the passion. And if you don't have it at this moment, you don't feel it right now, find out what it is that allows you to tap into that again. Is that the pursuit that you're undergoing right now? The pursuit of passion, the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of meaning, the pursuit of why, the pursuit of purpose. I think you'll find the spark again. And you're gonna master it, and you're gonna use it and whittle it and shape it in the way that suits you, and it's gonna be beautiful. And you don't have all the answers, you don't have it all figured out yet, and maybe you're not clear on what your intentions are just yet, but you're gonna get there. You're in motion, you're moving towards something, and that's better than sitting still and stagnating and being trapped in an environment that maybe doesn't support you, is in conflict with you, is in competition with you. If this isn't you, then move out of it towards this. Find this again, or find this for the first time if that's the case. Because I feel like once you set your intentions and you're clear about where you're wanting to go, there's going to be a flow and a fluidity to things. And I keep getting this image throughout this whole reading. I've been getting this image, but of like a glowing liquid spiraling up through these like spiraling tubes. It's almost like a straw, and it's like the higher it goes, the faster it spins, like the easier it becomes, the brighter it becomes. You know, there's just something about that. So anyway, I wish you all the best, Taurus. I hope the reading did well by you and made sense to you and provided something of value to you. And I'm sorry for any moments where I was a little sluggish. It's late and it's the end of a long work day, and I'm back at it again tomorrow, like I'm sure many of you are. But find your meaning, find your purpose, and fare thee well.